Amitji, your corporate journey is quite intriguing. You worked in business consulting, a tech startup, and now in operations. Could you share key leadership lessons from your journey?
Journey has obviously been into different domains. I'm glad you brought that out. Uh, I think one key that of all of this that emerges for me at least is the focus on execution that has to be there. Finally, what differentiates a business from an an exercise which is more academic in nature or which is more thought leadership in nature is the ability to get things done on the ground. One important aspect, if I have to outline, that would be getting things done is more important than figuring out what are the best actions available and spending more time on them. So you have to hit the ground running, and by the time you realize, time just flies out.
We live as people call it the VUCA world, that is volatile, uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous. And never have we seen the world change so rapidly as we have seen in past few years. Traditional working styles, management style, and also the leadership styles are no longer as relevant in the current times. So what, according to you, will be the new trends?
Projecting something into the future today, like you said, it's a VUCA world, is an exercise fraught with a lot of risk. So the new world is possibly something as we see emerging every day. That said, some of the trends are very clear. These trends and a mixture of these trends is possibly something that will, at different points in time, manifest itself in different forms. So we'll have to be ready for how the manifestations come. But possibly in terms of dynamics is what we have some better view of rather than in terms of the actual scenarios that will pan out. Now, in terms of the dynamics that we look at, there are aspects, for example, users, and when I say users, these for us, these are consumers, customers, and buyers of the products and services whom we see. They are clearly increasingly more aware and informed. They are more informed through tech channels. When I say tech, this is social media, IT. Today, when there is a consumer who, even if walks into a traditional trade, the corner store, ABC Electronics next door kind of, even before going there to buy an air cooler or any other product, a refrigerator, she would have done 80% of her research before walking into the shop. Second thing we are seeing is the willingness to spend on key categories, things that are important and necessary to you, more exotic stuff, but evaporative cooling, for example, is one of the basic necessities. A lot of people who are today, for example, working from home, earlier didn't realize that the heat was so much during the day, sitting in their offices, rather than when today they are working out of their homes. So they are now coming and they are saying, can I get my home environment better? And they are switching to products which are now a necessity, which were earlier possibly less of a necessity, so to speak. The consciousness of service levels and brand is also becoming important. Consumers are clearer about the need for the right level of service, the right kind of brand which promises and delivers that service, rather than experiment with a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of the VUCA thing that you talked about has set up in so many aspects of life that wherever possible, consumers are settling for what still is reliable, what still is trusted. So in many aspects of life, we don't want that VUCA, the risk to come in. And then consumers are saying, possibly, this is a brand I can trust and I don't want any sort of risk here. So another shift emerging out of the VUCA behavior, VUCA sort of environment where consumer is saying, at least some things need more certainty than others. So maybe those are the top 3 things I would mention out here.
Amit, you have a very rich experience as a business transformation and profitability improvement specialist with and having worked with 3 of the big 4 consulting firms handling such portfolios. Could you shed light on how that accumulated experience is becoming handy for you in the current operational role?
The experiences of having been part of some of amazing consulting teams with Big Four and having done a tech startup myself, I think it has prepared me for doing the right kind of thinking and driving the right kind of approaches in a more traditional functional, and when I say functional, which is execution oriented role that I now am working on. Why this is important is at Symphony, we are a very structured, in some way established process-oriented organization. And sometimes, as we said, the world is changing so fast. We need to bring in new approaches. We need to bring in new methods of doing things in line with the way the world is emerging around us. Focus on introducing new technology. And in this case, the technology is more the digital and tech side of it rather than the cooling side of it. Bringing in analytics, focus on data, how a lot of, see, we sell, for example, millions of coolers every year. That gives us a rich trove of data about consumers, about our partners, how to use that kind of data. Those are aspects that I was able to understand as part of the role I had earlier in terms of consulting, seeing multiple facets of different organizations and how they are doing one or other piece brilliantly. So that has given me exposure to a lot of good practices in different organizations, domestically and globally. That is something that now is upon me to bring to the current role and add those new approaches, methods into an existing performing setup and evolve a new blend of this that works on the ground. So that's broadly the sum and substance of it.
Could you highlight the importance of reading for business leaders? And which are the books that have influenced you the most in your life and career?
These days, I'm reading a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac. This is a book authored and sort of given inputs by Charlie Munger, who is from the Berkshire Hathaway universe. There's not too much one can add to explain who is, but that's an amazing book that I'm reading right now. There have been a lot of books over the past that have influenced the way at least I have built my thinking. Another one that I would remember from my recent readings is The Innovator's Dilemma, an amazing book, especially if one is looking at how to build up new products or solutions, or how one survives in what we call the VUCA world in terms of continuously adapting to changes, adopting changes at the same time, and so on. But yes, there's a much larger list that obviously happy to share.